Good day, viewers. Welcome to a new edition of 30 Minutes with me, Manir Dan Ali. Our guest today is a two-term House of Reps member and two-term Senator of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and a keen aviator, somebody who flies himself all over the places. I'm talking about none other than Senator Bala Ibn Allah. Senator Bala Ibn Allah, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much, viewers.
I know you started out as a lawyer, and then your interest in aviation. I remember you in one interview saying that actually in your family of five, that is you, your wife, and three children, it's only your wife that doesn't fly.
Yes.
And you are all still flying.
Exactly.
Let's put the flying aside and go into the politics of the coming cycle of election, because I will want to go back to this pastime of yours much later. But why are you concerned when the governor of Kaduna State came out to say that all leaders from the northern part of the country bear some responsibility for the mess that has enveloped the region, that is economic, political, security, and in all other areas? Why are you taking exception to that? Because you are somebody who has served at one of the highest levels, so shouldn't you be taking the blame?
Well, you see, there are two different things here. One, the two statements he made, or allegedly made, or whatever the intentions were.
He actually made the statement on this very program.
Exactly. They ended up saying, whoever held office in the last 20 years should go and apologize to the North. Then I sat back. Then I asked myself, first, as a Muslim, I know that that kind of statement is un-Islamic. To generalize that the entire North in the last 20 years has not succeeded in producing one honest leader who has put in his best for the development of the North. Then I decided it is good I interrogate myself. And I did. And I look at the 2 terms I have served as member of the House of Representatives. I look at the 2 terms I have served as a member of the Senate. And I tried my best. I was unable to find anywhere where I had cause, directly or indirectly, to take any decision that was injurious to the North. Now, don't forget, I'm 60 years old now, a little bit above. I have children. I have grandchildren. I may die tomorrow. This statement is record. So I should give them the opportunity to say, at least our grandfather had entered a plea of not guilty to that charge.
So you are concerned about history. You don't want to be judged maybe harshly or wrongly.
Exactly, yeah. And that was after interrogating the level of sacrifice I have made, the level of effort I have put in the opportunity that God gave me to serve in those 2 capacities. And I felt it was wrong, even if I cannot speak for other leaders in the North, which I know they are equally pained by that statement. But let me at least speak for myself. And I still maintain the position. Ali, you know me very well. And that's why in the statement I said, in one of the terms that I have served as a senator, His Excellency, Governor of Kaduna State, was with me in the Senate. If he can remember any decision that can be attributed to me that is injurious to the North, let him say it. In any case, I decided to make this reply, not because I was happy doing it, no. Because one of the things I hate doing is talking about the North. I would rather, with the privilege that God has given me in this country, talk as a Nigerian rather than a sectional leader.
So you are saying that by your own reckoning, you did your best for the North, for Nigeria, and it is not as if you cannot be lumped with those who may have done something wrong when they were in leadership position.
Let me tell you something.
Yes.
Those who did something wrong in the North are known, and they are few, and they know themselves. Because they were the ones that God gave the opportunity to offer leadership. But in their pursuit of personal aggrandizement, they abandoned leadership and therefore succeeded in dislocating the entire leadership in that region. You understand? Where deliberately you throw merit, you throw competence away, and you decide to proceed on parameters that are not helpful to good governance, then where lies the wisdom of coming back to say, well, we have done this mistake, but it is a collective one? No, it is not. Everybody should go and answer his own questions as it regards to the service he has rendered to his people. Wallahi, Munir, I have interrogated myself, and I will say that, and I challenge any Nigerian to tell me what decision, what steps, what have I done as a person that is injurious to the North, and by extension, my own country.
But for example, we've heard about budget padding. You are a senator, and these accusations were there when budgets were being padded. So couldn't that be part of maybe where you may have contributed, because senators sat and kind of agreed to a budget that President Buhari reluctantly signed? He said it publicly that he didn't believe in the budget, but he had to sign it. And it's all because of this padding, which kind of has some self-interest.
No, Munir, let me tell you something.
Yes.
It is from President Buhari that I first heard about the issue of padding. You were with us in the House of Representatives for 2 terms. In all honesty, have you ever
But I wasn't a member.
But have you ever heard about the word padding at that period? Now, let me tell you, whether anybody believes that or not, that the executive has the responsibility to implement budget. No matter what a legislator decides to put in a budget, either by way of padding or by way of constituency project or whatever, the end result, it is the executive that will implement that budget. So for me, to hear somebody saying that there has been padding, you had EFCC, you had everything in place. In fact, let me tell you, as it stands today, ICPC has the record of every senator, every member of the House of Representatives, based on what they have put in the budget and what they have implemented. You can go and check. They have that record. And wait, and if that is the situation, where lies the wisdom that somebody will say approving a budget? In any case, it's democracy. The budget appropriation act will be read on the floor of the House. It will be put into vote, and then the majority will carry the vote, and that is how bills are passed, and then it becomes an appropriation bill.
But for the people out there on the street, their concern is, since the return to democracy, 1999 to date, they see the legislators, living big and all of that, taking good care of themselves, but not taking good care of Nigerians. You find that actually, if you go by the statistics, Nigerians are just getting poorer, while the tiny elite that is either in the executive but also in the legislature, the 109 senators, the 360 House of Reps, they are usually the cream wherever they are. They are the ones who are living very well. So why is it so difficult to engineer something that can benefit even the ordinary people?
I think that is where maybe I will disagree with some members of the public. Maybe they don't understand. And I will tell you, a lot of, including elites, some of them ventured into coming into the National Assembly believing that it's a place to make money, only to come and discover that they are going to end up poorer. Munir, I'm giving you this assignment. Go back to your constituency or anywhere where you have some knowledge of people who occupied public office that relates to elective offices, more especially the House of Representatives or the Senate. Tell me one senator or one member of the House of Reps who had nothing doing before he joined politics, and who, after leaving politics after 1 year, can afford even the school fees of his children. Tell me.
But most do not appear to have difficulty with doing that, because they are still some of the ones that are like big in their localities.
Well, that is how you see it. But I'm just giving you this assignment. And I hope by the time you finish that assignment, you will come back on this forum and tell Nigerians what your results have shown. Just pick 4.
So are you saying that the legislators are not taking the big salary and the allowances, especially, which they don't even like to reveal the amount, and then having new cars under different guises? They will say maybe it's not personal, it's because you are chair of a committee and all of that. So this is what reinforces in people's mind that the legislators are taking good care of themselves and neglecting the ordinary citizens.
I don't think so. Maybe I'm not here to make a case for the legislatures, but I'm telling you based on my honest understanding of how that place is run. The perception that the public have about that institution is completely at variance from the reality of what happened there. And I'm sure, go and interview most senators, go and interview most members of the House of Representatives. They will tell you. Some of them are even poorer that they have joined politics now than they were before joining politics.
But
because they themselves came with that impression that you get there, you get, okay, let me tell you something.
But why are they fighting to remain there? Why is it that they don't want to leave?
There are a lot of people who will, it's an issue of hope. You are hoping that, okay, tomorrow I might be the Senate president, tomorrow I might be this. That's all. That may be the reason. But not to remain as just an ordinary senator or no. Munir, go and find out. I'm not making a case for senators or House of Reps. In any case, I'm not there. But I'm telling you, based on my knowledge, and I think having...
But you are not there because you lost the election. Is that the reason? Is that not the reason why you contested in 2023?
Yeah.
You are not there in the Senate because you lost the election.
Yes.
Not because you didn't stand for that election.
I did. But you should ask again, how did I stand for the election? Was it out of my volition?
You are forced? Is it your community? You know, is it the usual political language we hear that it's my community put pressure on me to be
those
there?
of you who are outside will equally think along that line. But let me tell you how this thing plays out. As a senator, for the period that you have served as a senator, there are 1,001 people who believe in you to be able to make one thing or the other that is either beneficial to them in person or to their community. You understand? And therefore, they might have, benefited, directly or indirectly from your being there. And they believe that that benefit should continue. And therefore, they come to calling you that, please, for God's sake, don't go. And that's what the public call the usual language of politicians that are saying, no, it's called by people. No. You are with me in the House of Reps. I said I wasn't going to contest for the third term, and I never did. But I knew the pressure that came through that one. Then the question is, why did they come back for me to come and contest for the Senate? So
probably because they believe you did something right.
Thank you. It could not have been that they came for me believing that I did something wrong.
But then the same electorate decided in the last election that maybe they didn't want you there.
I don't want to talk about that one. Some people somewhere decided for political experience.
But the numbers, the votes, you had more than 5,000 difference.
No, 3,000 votes. Go and check your record.
But still, even if it is one is the number.
But don't worry, Munir, I don't want to discuss about that issue here because I don't want to go into the politics of saying who did what and for what reason. As a leader, I have reached a stage where I should be able to have some level of confidentiality, over what happened. But I'm telling you, the politics that ran about my election has more to do with me not coming to contest for the Senate president of this country. It has more to do with that than losing election.
So it's some careful footwork to ensure that you are not there
Thank you.
even consider.
Thank you.
That. Can we move on to something you earlier spoke about, perception? How do you consider the perception as an insider of the National Assembly when you were in the House of Representatives, the Galina Abba kind of house, and then the current National Assembly that is seen to be more like what in Hausa they call Magellami, Bachizo Baya Kushi. That's just a lapdog that is ready to say yes to whatever the powers that be wants.
Well, I'm happy you used the word perception. And I think I'm schooled enough to understand that perception is a fluid concept. The public may perceive the National Assembly that way, but that does not insulate the National Assembly from taking certain decisions erroneously, you understand, either by procedure or whatever, you understand. And that has capacity to give the impression that, look, you are just rubber stamp, or you are this, or you are that. Because at that time they were taking that decision, they had information that the public does not have. You understand?
Which particular decision?
Any decision
that
has capacity to portray them as, what do you call it, rubber stamp or whatever. So, as a leader, you have certain information that is not available to the public. And therefore, your judgment can never be the same with that of the public. And when that variance exists, certainly the public would have felt that, look, you have failed us by not taking that decision that way. Maybe if the public had the opportunity to have the information that the members of the National Assembly had when they took that decision, they would have taken the same decision. But because they didn't have that information, the problem will be in the erroneous procedure of taking the decision. That's where the issue lies, but not the decision itself.
Very interesting point, and I want us to revisit it when we come back from this short break.
Thank you.
Viewers, it is 30 minutes, the interactive program of Trust Television, and our guest today is Senator Bala Ibn Na'Allah. Welcome back. It is still 30 minutes, the interactive program of Trust Television, and our guest today is former Senator Bala Ibn Na'Allah. You were talking about some of the information that usually inform decision of leaders, whether in the National Assembly or in other arms of government. What could have informed the decision of the National Assembly on a crucial matter of declaring emergency on a state to choose to use voice vote instead of what was supposed to be like everybody to actually come out and state his position on it? Why do you think that happened, and is it right?
Well, speaking honestly, it was not right. Secondly, there is nothing that can inform that procedure. But you see, the development of parliament is so important in a democracy that the use of the word ranking is not for nothing. So some of these errors arose because maybe the presiding officer was not ranking enough.
That is not senior enough.
Yes, exactly, yeah. To know that the procedure to follow, will have been better.
Are you sure it is that, or the main purpose is to achieve a particular goal?
Well, I'm not in their shoes to know what it was. I am not in the National Assembly. But what is important is that where there is an expression of the word two-thirds, you do not need anybody to tell you that you cannot determine two-thirds by voice vote. And by all parliamentary procedures, what normally happens is that you either divide the House and count, or you go for electronic voting. Because that two-thirds is a critical constitutional requirement. And the danger, and let me tell you something, the danger there is this. In politics, everything can change. One of the conditions for removing a governor or removing a president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria under our constitution, it equally requires two-thirds. God forbid, if things go wrong, and for example, politically, some people want to remove the president, will president accept a situation where by voice vote, the two-thirds requirement for his removal can be met? Will he accept that situation? So that is the danger of taking certain decisions as precedents without looking at the consequences.
So the implications of this are dire.
They are serious. They are serious constitutional consequences. And I hope, and I keep on praying, that the National Assembly will one day find somewhere, somehow, to take a resolution, you understand, and say, look, we did that in error, and we believe that it should be corrected, and that the requirement of 2/3 under any law should be by counting numbers or by electronic voting.
But given the current political circumstance, is that something feasible?
It's very feasible, because the institution is more important than the entire members of the National Assembly. How many people we have passed through there? We are no more there. You understand? But the institution remain there.
Yeah, but the people now are concerned in Nigeria that many institutions, not just the National Assembly, even to some extent the judiciary and others, that there are things that people are not comfortable with that are happening there, and they are standing, and that is like there is what is called state capture.
No, you see, concerns are okay under a democratic setup. Don't forget, our constitution has given people right to have opinions, you understand? And if their opinion it generates those concerns, that is okay. But that does not in any way represent what is on ground as far as these institutions are concerned. You see, certain circumstances dictate certain actions that may not necessarily satisfy the yearning and aspiration of Nigerians, but that they have to exist because given those circumstances, that was the only way out. The people who are occupying those offices believe it should go. For example, if you notice, the issue of the National Assembly is not about whether it was right or wrong to declare state of emergency in reverse. What was the issue was the suspension of the governor, the suspension of the deputy governor, and the suspension of the House of Assembly is what is of concern. You understand? And you know, under our constitution, what the law says, and we have done this. You were there in the House when Lalong, who was the governor of the Speaker of the Plateau State House of Assembly, we called him and took over the functions of the Plateau State House of Assembly. But the governor was left there because all that they needed was a functional House of Assembly. And the Constitution anticipates that situation will arise where the state assemblies may not be able to perform the function of their office. You understand? And therefore it says under that situation, the National Assembly should come in and provide, and then put a limitation to say that, well, you only have the right to legislate, but that right to impeach a governor, to remove a governor from office, does not is not conferred upon you. So the only restriction there is that you must remain within the ambit of what the Constitution says, making laws for that state, until the Assembly now comes back to say we are now able to perform the function of our office, then you reverse.
Could it be the case that your earlier argument that people in leadership position have lots of information which inform their decision, could it be that this National Assembly had this information which made them to decide that we can do this decision by just a voice vote?
No, I don't honestly. I'm telling you there is no justification for voice vote. No information can justify voice vote in that National Assembly. But I am telling you that you might be put in a situation where you just have to do something.
Just as the same National Assembly, within the twinkle of an eye, change our national anthem, and we are still struggling to even learn how to recite it.
Well, again, you gave them that power, so what can we do? You elected them and gave them that power to decide for you, and in their own wisdom,
at the speed with which they did it.
It doesn't matter about the speed. What is important is, do they have the power to do so? That's what should be important to you. And when you were electing them, you understand, did you take care to make sure that they do not excite that kind of speed in determining your own future? So this thing is a catch-22 situation. Let's be honest, let's be sincere.
But then, where does all this lead us to? Because 20-something years after the return of democracy, if you are to do a box pop on people's opinions, many people are like kind of fed up with it. They are not happy. It's not giving them the kind of result they want. Is that the kind of situation we should have just a quarter of a century since the return to democracy?
Well, here I will say the public has right to think the way they did. But they equally have the moral obligation to make sure that in choosing their leaders, they have equally taken the best parameter, you understand, in the leadership recruitment process. If you just sit down and you go to the poll and then you are giving money and then you vote whoever you want, why will you expect a result that will be different from that? You are indirectly promoting the entire governance structure to be transactional.
So we are all responsible
It's a collective responsibility.
Very interesting point you are making there, and I'm afraid we have run out of time for this particular interview. Thank you very much for coming.
I'm equally happy we have run out of time, because you will not have the opportunity to put me more into another trouble where it is very difficult to speak the truth.
But I thought you get into more trouble with all your flying all over the country. Yes.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Viewers, that's the end of this edition of 30 Minutes. Keep a date with us.